Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see you on here. Thanks for joining us. I do have Taylor on the line, so he'll kind of be with us through this um, seminar. So just a little intro here for you. So at LPL and TAR Financial, we get to work with strategic partners who represent asset managers and work with us with great resources to provide market and industry insights. Today, we have the pleasure of working with Max Epply. He works with MFS. He's a senior regional consultant. He works with financial advisors in Michigan and helps to deliver educational content like what we'll hear today regarding Social Security. MFS has been around since 1924 and is known in the industry for creating the first mutual fund. It was called the Massachusetts Investor Trust, and that fund still exists today. Max has been in the industry for 10 years. He's worked closely with MFS's in-house Social Security contact to understand some of the common pitfalls or mistakes when taking Social Security. So I'm excited for him to share it with us. Max, I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doris. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Well, thank you for the great intro. Taylor, thank you for having me as well. And of course, thank you all for taking the time out of, I'm sure, your busy schedules to be here today. As Doris said, my name is Max Epply, and I work for MFS Investment Management. We are located out in the Boston area. And my job is really twofold at my company. First and foremost, I act as a conduit of information between what I believe are the smartest people in the world, our portfolio managers and analysts. And I pass along that information on capital markets to financial advisory teams to help educate their clients. But secondly, my role, which is arguably the most important one, is I help educate financial advisors and their clients on different areas of retirement income. The area that I've had the opportunity to learn a lot about is the Social Security side of things. And if you think about the catalyst that got me into Social Security is, I think if you look at my entire family, they've broken every single Social Security rule out there. So I can assure you, I have spent more time on the line with SSA than maybe anyone on the line here today. So what I'm hoping to get out of this is, I don't know if we're going to be masters of Social Security by the end of this. And if you look at all the rules that happen with Social Security, it is larger than the IRS tax code. What I want you to know is this is maybe the beginning discussion for us. I don't cease to exist after today. Take as many notes as you can. All the material that you see on the screen, we can get to you in email and hard copy format. But the most important thing that I want you to take away from today is really the common pitfalls that you need to avoid when it comes to Social Security. 70% of Americans tend to take their benefit as early as possible, maybe because they just don't know what their options are. And what that leads to are choices that they may not be able to go back from. They find themselves in sticky situations that I'll allude to here today. So certainly, if you have a very personal situation that you'd like to discuss, we can certainly go one-on-one with those calls. If you have a general question or you need clarification on anything, at the end, I'll take as much Q&A as humanly possible here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. And Doris, if you want to give me a thumbs up that you can see this right now. Great, perfect. Okay, so you should be seeing ssa.gov in front of you here. I am married to a former teacher, and she has rubbed off on me quite a little bit. And I apologize that we're starting our relationship off with me giving you some homework here. But if you do take one thing today, it's if you have not signed up on ssa.gov, the website that you're seeing here, it's Social Security's website. If you have not signed up for it, I need you to do that this weekend, if at all possible, because a lot of common questions that we have on Social Security, such as what is my benefit? What will my benefit be? Work history, etc. It's easily findable on their website. You just have to create your very own profile. Again, it's your own profile with your own SSA number. It's not a household. You can't, even if you're married, you each need independent profiles on here. What I will tell you is set aside a little bit more time than you think. They do ask very personal questions, such as what street you grew up on 30 years ago? What was your first auto loan? The color of your first car? because they need to prove who you are. So it took me about a couple hours. Maybe it'll take you a little bit easier, but I do want you to sign up on ssa.gov. And if you do have any issues signing up, please contact Doris or Taylor, and we will certainly help you on that end. So what you're seeing here, it's our 2023 Social Security Reference Guide. We update this annually. So as you start to learn more about Social Security, please contact the team and we'll get you updated numbers on an annual basis. But inevitably, as you can imagine, what do you think the first question I always get is? Well, Max, when should I even take my Social Security benefit? Okay, that's very subjective, right? It's very unique to your own situation. I truly do feel that Social Security has become water cooler talk, right? Your neighbor or family member, they say, I took mine at 63, and someone says, I took mine at 68. It starts getting in your head a little bit, and when you do, you feel the pressure, and maybe you just take it as early as possible and you just copy someone else. So before you even think about taking Social Security, you need to meet with a member of TAR Financial. They are the highest quality financial advisory team that I have the privilege of working with. So before you do make a decision, please consult them because they understand your full financial picture. The good news is that Social Security, they've given us a guiding age to be aware of, just maybe a point in time to think about taking your benefit. And it's called your full retirement age. And in an industry that is dominated with acronyms, we have yet another one, FRA. Now, your full retirement age is the age that if you take it at, you will receive no decrease to your benefit. There's no increase to your benefit. You are solely going to get what you're entitled to after working and paying into the system for your entire life. And the easiest thing to know about this is it's purely based on your year of birth. So right here, I'll show you what your full retirement age is. For those of you on the line today born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66 years old. And as our eyes look left to right, we can see the year of birth changes. So too does your full retirement age. For those of you born 1955, it's 66 years plus 2 months. Plus 4 months, 6, 8, 10. Anyone here born at or after 1960, your full retirement age is 67 years old. So your full retirement age can only ever fall between 66 and 67. So if you're thinking about maybe taking it at that age, just put a reminder in your calendar. Also do put a reminder in your calendar whenever you think you're going to take it, put a reminder about a couple months prior because you may want to go into the administration earlier to start filling out the paperwork, get the process rolling. I don't believe it's as easy as you walk in and they start handing you checks. There is some due diligence that does need to have happen. So whenever you think about taking it, try and go into the administration a few months early to get the process rolling. So now we know what our full retirement age is. Well, how do we even qualify for our own benefit? So we have 4 quadrants on the screen here. I'm going to allude to this number first on the top left, 40, that I've just highlighted. In order to qualify for your very own Social Security benefit, you need to have worked and paid into the system for 40 total quarters. Now that's 10 total years of working and paying it into the system. And when I mean paying into the system, when you see a paycheck and you see that's little amount that's taken out to pay into the system, that counts as paying. So that's 10 total years. The best news is it's non-consecutive. So for those of you who have entered the workforce, maybe you left the workforce potentially to raise children or something like that, and then you re-entered the workforce, that's great. You just need to hit 40 total quarters to qualify. On ssa.gov, they've got a work aggregation table, I'll call it. So once you hit those 40 quarters, it'll tell you and give you a nice little green check mark. But to qualify, it's just 40 quarters, and then you are entitled to your very own benefit. Now, for those of you who have ever received the paper statement, an estimate, or you're already signed up and it tells you what your estimated benefit is, the way they come to that number has to do with this 35. What Social Security is going to do to quantify what you're entitled to is they're going to take your 35 highest earning years. They are going to average it out. They're going to run it through quite a complex calculation that we can go over on the side, and then they're going to come to your estimate. So it's not your 35 most recent years, it's your 35 highest earning years. So if you see your estimated benefit is growing year after year, that is probably because you're rolling off very low income earning years. So for example, I coached tennis when I was 16 years old, and the $200 that I made that summer, that's part of my work history. So I hope one day that that rolls off and then that's replaced with higher income years. So it's your 35 highest earning years. The more you work and pay in, the higher your benefit will grow. If you haven't worked 35 years, that's totally fine. Any year that you miss is just replaced with a zero. So if you work 30 years, it'll be 30 years plus 5 zeros, and then they will average that out. Now, why is it so important? Again, if you sign up on SSA.gov, this is the absolute due diligence I need you to do annually. What I don't want to have happen to you is sometimes there are errors made, right? Sometimes income is either misreported or not reported to the Social Security Administration. So what SSA.gov does is they have a work verification table. It will legitimately show you how much money you've made in your entire career that's applied to Social Security. I've heard horror stories where you get to the 1 yard line, you're about to take your benefit. You think your benefit's a little bit lower, and they pull up your work history. And then in the year 2000, it shows you made zero income. You know that's not true, but maybe the company doesn't exist anymore. How do you prove that you've made that income? So every year that you're working, just go check SSA.gov, make sure the income is reported correctly, so you're going to get the benefit that you are entitled to. So let's see how taking it at various different ages is going to affect your benefit. We've got two sets of bars at the bottom here. Full retirement age, 66 is going to be on the left. Full retirement age, 67 on the right. So I don't have to double speak to you today and extend this to a 3-hour presentation. I'm only going to speak to full retirement age 66. By all means, if your full retirement age is closer to 67, please look at the right. It's almost identical data. I'm going to zoom in here. So we can see above the age 66, your full retirement age, there's a 100% number. Again, that means if you took it at that age, like I said, you're going to receive no decrease to your benefit. There's no increase to the benefit. You're going to get 100% of what you are entitled to. But as our eyes look to the left, what do we see? We see a series of descending negative numbers all the way to age 62. The earliest you can take your own benefit is age 62. And what these negative numbers represent are permanent reductions in your benefit for the rest of your life. So if I call the administration and they say, hey, Max, your full retirement age is 66. And at age 66, you're going to get $1,000 a month. Great. I know if I take it as early as possible, 62, I've got the decrease there. So I'll only be making $750 a month. So just be careful if you decide to take it prior to full retirement age, there is going to be the reduction in benefit. I will say that if you have to take it prior to that, that doesn't mean you're a failure or anything's wrong with you. Everyone's situation is different. If you want to take it earlier for whatever reason, you certainly can. I just want you to be aware of that if you're just doing it to do it, that there is a reduction in there prior to full retirement age. Now, the good news is the administration, look, they're not pure evil. So if you decide to wait, you're going to get a little bit of bonus on your benefit. So as we can see going to the right of full retirement age, we can see we are met with a series of ascending positive numbers that caps out at age 70. Every single year that you can wait to take your benefit after full retirement age is a guaranteed 8% increase to your benefit. And here's the best part. It's adjusted with inflation. So if inflation runs hot, which we certainly know it has, and we can feel that, Social Security will amend everyone's benefit upwards with whatever inflation is. Myself, Doris, and Taylor, and Tar Financial, we work in an industry where we can never guarantee almost anything. But what we can actually guarantee you here is that every year that you wait to take your benefit is an 8% increase, and they will amend that upwards with inflation. So the longer you can wait, if you don't need the money, just know it's going to be 8% additive to your benefit, and that will cap out at age 70. So just know what your full retirement age is, and just know the implications of taking it prior or letting it grow. And of course, know that it's 10 total years of working and paying into the system, and they will take your 35 highest earning years to come up with that number. This is slide 2. So if you want to jot down anything you want me to revisit, just know it's slide 2 and we can go over that. Now let's talk about one of the most common pitfalls that I see that everyone on the call needs to prepare for. This does look like an Excel sheet kind of threw up on here. And don't worry, we're not going to go through every single number that we see here. I'm going to highlight one number. If you have a pen in your hand, please jot this number down. Very important as it pertains to your benefit. It's this number here, 21,240. Now we know based on the previous slide that I referenced, if you take prior to your full retirement age, there is that reduction in your benefit, right? What we also need to be aware of is if you take your benefit prior to full retirement age, again, 66 to 67, and you are working and you make more than 21,240, Social Security will actually withhold money from your benefit. For every $2 you make above this number here, Social Security will withhold from your benefit. It's called the earnings limit, and it applies to all benefits, your own, spousal, survivor, divorcee, whatever your benefit is. If you decide to take that benefit prior to full retirement age and you make more than 21,240, for every $2 you make above that, Social Security is going to withhold one. I believe the reason is, from a speculative standpoint, that Social Security most likely wants you to treat this benefit like a retirement income stream. What they don't want it to be is you make a lot of money at your job and then you're going to use this benefit as early as possible to pay off a second home down in Florida or something like that. So to deter people who are making a lot of money and taking their benefit at the same time, they impose the earnings limit there. Now, keep in mind, once you turn your full retirement age, whether that's 66 all the way to 67, you can work and make as much money as you like. There is no earnings limit after that. It is only for the benefits you take prior to full retirement age. Now, here's a trap that has happened in my family. You may say to yourself, hey, Max, no, I'm going to take it 62. I'm not going to go back to work. Okay, consider a couple scenarios here. The market goes for a downturn, and I'm not calling or saying there was going to be a recession or anything, but tough times do happen. Maybe it forces you to go back to work. So you've taken your benefit. Maybe you need to go back to work for monetary reasons, and you're caught in this awkward spot, right? Do I give up my benefit or just not go back to work? So just be sure if you take that benefit prior to full retirement age that you're not going back to work. I most commonly see this as well. This happened in my family with widows, because of course the earnings limit does apply to all benefits. So if you're a widow potentially, you may need to take the check as early as possible. And this happened to my mother. She took the widow's benefit at age 60 because she needed the money. Social Security did not remind her about the earnings limit. So what happened? She got bored at home, living alone. She wanted to rejoin the workforce so she could be a little bit more social. She started making more than 21,240. The check stopped coming. She called them. They said, hey, you're making more and we've got to take some money out of your Social Security benefit. So it is a widow's trap as well. So just be aware of the earnings limit. And I just want to clarify what the earnings limit actually is derived from. So it's based on earned income only. So think of W-2 income, right? So dividend, capital gains, rental income, pensions, distributions from IRA and workplace retirement plans, so think 401ks, are not counted as earned income for the earnings limit. So if you really need to take your Social Security benefit prior to full retirement age, but you need more money, please work with TAR Financial. Maybe they can pull from your 401k. They can curate something from pulling from a retirement or a rental income stream. They have the ability to pull at different levers that will not affect the earnings limit. So I apologize for harping on one number for so long, but it is so important to be aware of if you take your benefit prior to full retirement age. So moving on, let's go through spousal benefit. For anyone on the line here who is currently married, ever been married, thinking about getting married, this is one of the larger pages you want to be aware of here. So before we get to what you are entitled to at the top here, let's see spousal benefit key fact and the requirements to even receive one. 3 easy bullet points for you. Bullet point number 1, I'll just read straight from it. You must currently be married to your spouse for 1 year or 10 years if you're divorced, and we'll go through divorcee, but 1 year. So I know it sounds very romantic, right? You go straight from the altar to the administration and maybe start redeeming some money. Not the case. You got to tough it out for 12 total months, and then you can get your spousal benefit. So just know it's 1 year of marriage. Bullet point number 2, your spouse must be receiving their retirement or disability benefit. Years ago, there used to be a trick or a loophole, whatever you want to call it, where both people in the marriage could take a spousal benefit off each other and then let their own benefit grow in the background. That does not exist anymore. So in a marriage, no two people can simultaneously take a spousal benefit. You would need one of you to quote unquote turn yours on, and then that allows the opportunity for your spouse to start pulling their own. So if you're thinking about pulling a spousal benefit, your significant other needs to be redeeming their own benefit. So it's a joint decision when it's time to pull that. And then third bullet point, I love this one. Available even if you didn't work. So remember a couple slides ago, I said you needed 40 quarters to qualify. That's just for your own benefit. Spousal benefit, you don't have to have worked one day in your entire life to qualify for this benefit. So if you tuned out because of that, I need you to tune back in. So let's see what you are entitled to as a spouse. Again, at the top here, I'm only going to refer to the blue bars for full retirement age 66. We can see that the earliest you can take a spousal benefit is age 62. And the latest you can take it is your full retirement age, 66 or 67. And we can see that that number caps out at 50%. Now, what are these percentages pegged to? Very important. So these are pegged to your significant other's full retirement age benefit number. So the most you'll ever receive from the spouse is 50% of their full retirement age benefit number. So I just want to clarify that for you. If I call Social Security again, right? And they say, Max, hey, you've already called before, but we're going to tell you again, you're going to get $1,000 a month at your full retirement age. We know if I personally take my benefit earlier, there's the reduction. If I let it grow, I get the increase, right? Whatever I decide to do with my own benefit, the spousal benefit's only pegged to my full retirement age number. So my wife, Katie, would only be entitled to 50% of that $1,000. It doesn't matter if I took it at 62 and get a reduction. Doesn't matter if I took it age 70 and let it grow. These percentages are just based on your significant other's full retirement age number. If we need to go through that math, again, I can go through numerous different examples, but just know as a spouse, the most you'll ever get is 50%, but it's not of what they're receiving at that time. It's based on the full retirement age number of your spouse. And again, you can take this as early as 62. It won't be the full 50%. It'll be right around 35 or 32%, depending on your full retirement age. So just know as a spouse, if you've never worked, maybe you're raising children your whole life, which is the hardest job in the world, you are still entitled to a spousal benefit. If we need any clarification on that at all, we can certainly take questions at the end. Now, what would happen in the unfortunate event that your significant other passes away and you become a widow? Well, you'd be entitled to what's called a survivor benefit. And before I get to what you're entitled to as a survivor, let's see how you qualify. Again, very easy. It's going to be right down here on the left. I'm going to highlight it. Requirements to receive a survivor benefit. Now, you must be married to your spouse for 9 months leading into the passing, 10 years if divorced, and we'll get into that right after this. And then you yourself must be age 60 or older, 50 if you're disabled, or have what's called child in care. I'm going to table child in care for the time being, but let's just assume you're on the line here and you're a healthy individual. The earliest you can take your benefit is age 60. The other two I mentioned were age 62. They'll actually allow you to take this one 2 years earlier. Now we can see these percentages change, right? It's 71.5% if you take it as early as possible. And we can see that this number actually caps out at 100% if you can wait till your full retirement age. Here is the monumental difference between spousal and survivor. That previous slide with spousal, remember I said it's pegged to your significant other's full retirement age benefit number, right? Well, these percentages are actually pegged to whatever the deceased was receiving or due to be receiving upon their death. So think about it this way. I'm married, like I said. If I can wait till age 70 to take my benefit, we know that it's grown 8% annually, right? Once I turn age 70, it'll cap out. So that means if I pass away and my wife waits, who's now a widow, waits till her full retirement age to take the benefit, she can take 100% of my age 70 number. If I decided to take my benefit at age 62, no, it's not going to affect the spousal, but it greatly affects the survivor benefit. We've done a few studies. I can send this to Doris and Taylor, but I believe the math works out that the difference generally between the higher earner in a relationship taking their own benefit at age 62 relative to 70 is about $10,000 annually that they're leaving on the table for their surviving spouse. And generally, when I give this presentation, before I get to the slide, it's you can see the wheels turning sometimes in people's head that, oh, what is my benefit? What am I entitled to? All that great stuff. Well, we need to have this be a family decision, because what you decide to do with your own benefit can greatly impact the survivor benefit as well. So just know, before you choose any benefit, obviously you meet with TAR Financial, but secondly, it is a family decision, so please know that it will affect the survivor benefit. We have a slide here that goes through a few different scenarios. I just want to let you know about jumping between benefits and what happens if the deceased was not claiming their own benefit. Because if they were claiming their own benefit, the survivor benefit's just pegged to whatever they were receiving upon their death. But what happens if you're married to someone and they were trying to get to age 70, right, to max that out, but they passed away at 68 and never took their own benefit? So two scenarios for you here. If the deceased passed away before full retirement age and they were not claiming their benefit, the widower benefit is actually jumped up to what they would have received at full retirement age. So if I pass away at age 55, they're going to jump up the survivor benefit to what I was entitled to at full retirement age had I not taken the benefit. But if you pass away after full retirement age, they're just going to peg it to what I would have been entitled to the date of my death. So just know there's a couple nuances to it. I know we're going through a lot of information here. You are going to get this booklet, so just know there are different scenarios to be aware of. And then the biggest scenario that you need to be aware of is the widower switch up options. This is really the only time that you can succinctly jump between benefits. So if you find yourself in this unfortunate situation, you actually have two options. Option one is you have the ability to start with your survivor benefit at age 60. It's not going to be the full one, but you're at least starting to get some money. And then down the road, you can actually switch up to your own retirement benefit at any time. So you start with a reduced survivor benefit, and then you can jump up to your own benefit once it becomes higher. Or option two, you can just do the opposite. You can start at age 62 with your own benefit. Now we know there's a reduction of 25% on average in there. And then at any point in time when that survivor benefit grows in the background, you can jump up to it. So just know that you have some strategies. You may want to be very specific to the administration on what you are trying to accomplish, because generally what happens is you may go in there and they'll just tell you, hey, this is the higher of your benefit, and they'll give it to you. But I want you to be aware of your ability to jump. It also leads me to just a misconception I want to clear up. You can never stack benefits, by the way. You cannot take your own benefit and a survivor benefit simultaneously. You can't take three. You can only ever take one benefit at a time. I did this seminar one time earlier in my career. Someone left, they went straight to the administration and said, I would like all three benefits, please. And that is not how it works. So please just know you can only take one at a time. Let's go through divorce very quickly. A lot of divorcees either don't know that they're entitled to a benefit off their ex, or what I commonly run into is they just don't want to take it because they don't want to rehash anything with their ex. They don't want to alert them. They don't want to start a conversation. So if that's been a setback for you, or you think it is a setback, just know if you take a divorcee benefit, if you're entitled to it, your ex will never know. They won't receive a text message. They're not going to receive an email. It's not going to negatively affect their benefit, even if you want it to, but they'll never know that you're taking it. So let's see what you're entitled to as a divorcee. The math is identical to what we just went through. If your ex is still alive, you're entitled to a spousal benefit and up to 50%. And if your ex has passed away, you can take 100% of their benefit. It's the exact same math. The only difference is the length of marriage clause. You need to have been married for 10 consecutive years to be entitled to a divorcee benefit. So if you're married and you're very frustrated with one another and you're at 9.5 years, maybe stick it out 6 more months. It might benefit both of you from a divorcee benefit. I am not qualified to give marriage advice, but that's just how the math works here. We're going to go over remarriage in a second, but just know that the math is very straightforward on the previous slides. If your ex is still spousal, if your ex has passed away, you're entitled to a survivor benefit. Now, just know if you find yourself a double divorcee or triple divorcee, and all 3 of them lasted 10 years, you can just pick whatever's higher of them. So again, this isn't marriage advice, but if you find yourself with all these marriages that unfortunately didn't work out, but each of them lasted 10 years, maybe one of them's passed away, one of them's still alive. We call this the Jane Fonda rule because Jane Fonda was married 4 times, I think 3 of which were 10 years. One of them has passed away. One of them is still alive. So Jane Fonda can take the higher of her own benefit. She can take the spousal off the ex who's still alive, or the survivor benefit who has passed away. That's a very unique situation, but just know double divorcees or triple divorcees may in fact have their pick of the litter. Let's go through remarriage very quickly, and then we'll certainly open it up to any questions. So remarriage, I'll go with bullet point number 1. If your former spouse remarries, it does not affect your divorcee benefit at all. Let's say I'm married to my wife, Katie. We're married 10 years. She gets sick of my lame jokes. We get divorced after 10 years, and then she remarries. In the eyes of Social Security, doesn't affect my benefit whatsoever. So if your ex gets remarried, no issue. Their new significant other can pull a spousal off them, and you can still pull a spousal off them because they're alive. Everyone gets to participate. So just know it's not going to diminish your benefit at all. Second bullet point. Look, if you remarry, you usually forfeit the benefit off the first marriage. So if I'm married for 10 years, divorced, and I get remarried a year later, in the eyes of Social Security, that first marriage never happened. I'm now just reinstated to the benefits off my new current marriage. Now, there's a couple caveats here. What happens if the second marriage ends, like I said, in that triple divorcee scenario? So if your second marriage ends, divorce, annulment, or death, you just can restart, right? You're now have the ability to be re-entitled to that first marriage. Now we're going to get through the only crazy loophole that I've ever found in Social Security these days. I can't say Social Security was ever fun before, but this is the only fun thing I can think of that's associated with it. So I want you to look at this bubble here on the right. Remarry after age 60. Okay, so we know if I get remarried, in the eyes of Social Security, that first marriage never existed. I'm just entitled off the new marriage. Here's what's interesting though. If you get remarried after age 60, you forfeit the spousal benefit off your ex. It's gone. But weirdly enough, you actually get to keep the survivor benefit off them. So think about that. If I'm married to my wife, Katie, for 10 years and we get divorced, then I go 20 more years single and I decide to get married at age 63. Well, in that scenario, here's what I'm entitled to. The higher of my own benefit, spousal benefit off my new wife, and I actually get to keep the survivor off my ex. And if she passes away, I can actually jump up to hers. So this is where you may want to actually keep tabs with your ex, especially if you're getting remarried after age 60. So if you have a friend, she was previously, or he or she were previously married, they get engaged at age 59 and a half. What is your advice to them? set the wedding date till after you turn 60 so you can pull the survivor off the ex. Again, I'm not qualified for marriage advice. I am just stating the rules. I'm sure there was some politician who was very mad at their ex, so they created this rule to spurn them. So, Doris, Taylor, look, we've been through a lot. I appreciate everyone's time here. Just to recap, essentially what we've gone through. The homework, unfortunately, that you've got to sign up on SSA.gov. You know how you qualify for your own benefit now. You know what your full retirement age is. You know what happens if you take before or after full retirement age. And then, of course, the rules of spousal, survivor, divorcee, and remarriage. I'll reiterate exactly what I started with. I don't expect anyone to retain 100% of this, but the good news is I don't cease to exist after this. If you want to ask questions now, certainly. If you let it marinate and you want to discuss it later, please contact Doris, Taylor, or a member of TAR Financial, and I am more than happy to help. With that being said, Doris, Taylor, those are my prepared remarks. Doris, I know maybe a couple questions came in prior, but I'm happy to take any other questions for anyone on the line here.
Yeah, I have a couple. So the one is, we hear a lot about the pot dwindling in Social Security. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, pretty much the most polarizing question, right? And I think almost a political tool to a certain extent. I get asked that pretty much every conversation. Will it be there for me? General projections right now when it comes to Social Security is we are 100% fully funded till at least, I believe, the year 2033. So we've got at least a decade where benefits will not be affected at all whatsoever. If nothing changes with Social Security, then at the year 2033, what they'll do is they'll cut everyone's benefits about 25%. So if you were making 1,000, it'll drop to 750. That's just the projection that we have now. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think they have tools and mechanisms that they can find a way to fund it. Unfortunately, it's with raising taxes or how much they take out of your paychecks. Not really something that people want to touch right now. That's not going to be a fan favorite. But just to give you an example, I just told you we have 10 years left, right? And it seems like it's closer, but it's a decade. Just knowing that in 1983, we were 3 months away from insolvency with Social Security, and they came in with the Social Security reform, and it's lasted, 40 years now. So just know that they will find ways to fund it. Please consider this a tool in your retirement income. A great question.
I do have one more here. When are the best times to call SSA if we have any questions?
Yeah, good question. So if you feel very inspired by this presentation and you want to start jumping at your benefit, which I hope you are, first and foremost, what I would say is please find your local Social Security Administration and try and do it in person if you don't mind. I always find the rapport is a little bit better when you can see someone face to face and go through several different scenarios if you have them. If you do actually need to call in on their general hotline number, sometimes where the call volume is the highest is the first week of every month, right? Generally because people get their statements and they're very upset because they think they're entitled to more, so they completely pounce on Social Security. So avoid the first week, and thereafter in weeks 2, 3, and 4, try and target Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, I think people get very worked up over the weekend and they call them first thing Monday. So if you're trying to find the lowest call volume times, avoid week 1 of each month and then target Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thereafter. But those are what we have found are the lowest call volume.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, Max, I've heard some good things about the local Social Security office. Max, I've heard some good things about the local Social Security office. Closest one to our office, just so everyone knows, is 21 Mile Road. I've actually heard some good things about that office, and I've actually heard some good things about that office. So I echo what Max says. For a meeting in person, sign up if you're looking for a meeting in person. Really figure everything out about your benefits. Really figure everything out about your benefits. Obviously. Our office can answer. Obviously, most of them we can relay hiring questions. Most of them we can relay hiring questions. Going in person, I echo what Max says. Going in person,
Thank you.
I
Great
echo
point.
what Max says.
Thank you. Great point.